Hello everybody, it's time for Devlog Round 2. There have been lots of exciting changes since the last video, so without further ado, let's dive into the most recent features. So previously I gave this little guy the ability to walk around, damage some enemies, and basically interact with the world around him. But that's pretty useless if he's trapped in a voiceless purgatory without the ability to speak. So I got started on dialogue. I initially split this into two different ideas for how I wanted to do it. We have option 1, where dialogue just pops up on the screen and you don't really have the ability to choose from responses. I've seen this before in games like Metroid Fusion or most of Stardew Valley, with some exceptions, where you just get text thrown at you. This may be great if there's a cool story already 100% crafted and set in stone, but I want the player to have a bit more impact in what happens in the world around them. I want them to be able to form meaningful choices that can result in different NPCs starting to like or dislike them. This leads us to the more standard option 2, where we have a similar pop-up box, except we have multiple options for how we want to respond. So many games implement this, most notably stuff like Skyrim and Breath of the Wild. I ultimately decided to go with option 2, since it seemed very standard and fairly easy to implement. So anyways, the first thing I did was draw out a basic dialogue heads-up display, or HUD, that would pop up whenever somebody starts talking. I decided I wanted it to include a little portrait of the talker, like Stardew or Cave Story, to help add a bit of personalization and feeling to it. This way there could be different emotions that show when different messages pop up, making the game feel as alive as possible. I also made some very crude little smiley faces to prototype and got to work on the scripting. I decided to have all my HUDs operate under a single script called HUD Manager. This guy's whole purpose is to turn on and off the right HUDs at the right times. So when we bonk into a character, the dialogue starts. It'll close the time HUD, the inventory HUD, and any other unnecessary stuff, and open the dialogue one. Then, when we stop talking, it'll close the dialogue out and open up the time and inventory ones. Pretty simple concept. It wasn't long before I had a pop-up that could display text from the character. I also made it so they chain together, allowing one dialogue to lead into another based on what is chosen. I then added a cool little effect where the words type out slowly over a period of time. This, of course, got incredibly annoying as I had to wait impatiently for each individual letter, so I added the ability to skip if you angrily click one of the buttons. And there we have it, fully implemented dialogue. I went ahead and made it very simple for me to add or remove anything by making it so that I can modify it without touching any of the code. I can set the text and mood for the portrait image, and then set all the possible responses right in the editor. This makes for super easy modification and the ability to add as many character dialogues as I want. So now we have our little talking goblin, which is a huge step in the right direction. But let's take a quick break from rambling about features and go over something a bit different. I wanted to highlight the struggle of naming this thing and what we finally landed on. I thought I was pretty good at coming up with puns and names, but I really wrestled with this. A game name needs to be unique enough to stand out and be Googleable while still being concise and clever, and also giving you a sense of what the game is about. When you hear about a game called Doom, you aren't surprised to hear that it involves rampaging through hell, killing demons left and right. And when you hear about a game called Superhot, you aren't surprised to hear it involves... well, okay, yeah, that one doesn't make sense, but you get my point. I tried to tie in all of those aspects into something I was happy with. My top contenders were Green Goblin, because, you know, he's environmentally friendly, and he's a goblin. Of course, this would result in Spider-Man and his friendly neighborhood lawyers hitting me with a lawsuit, so I moved on to maybe Blightless, to indicate the process of clearing any human-caused blights on the island. I thought this was great until somebody asked me what blight meant, and decided to avoid that one. Plus it sounds so serious and intense. There were a few more on the list that I didn't like for various reasons, like the Goblin Dilemma, Eco-Fiendly, Habitat for Monstrosity, and a few others. Ultimately, I ended up liking Clean Up an Isle Goblin, or Isle Goblin for short. I liked it since it kinda checked all my boxes, has a fun pun, can be made concise, pretty Googleable, and it's weird enough for people to be like, "What'd you just say?" Which I hope will make it stick in people's heads well. That's the idea anyway. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And now, back to features. Our little guy can talk, so it stands to reason he'd immediately start haggling prices at the local shop as any good goblin would do. So I started to get a shop mechanic built in. I made a little shop table so when the NPCs sell stuff, we can display the items there. I was happy with how it went with my little suitcase and belt aesthetic I had going on. I like the idea of all of the UI elements being physical things instead of just amorphous boxes like a computer menu. So once I had all that ready, I threw it in Unity, placed some of those little boxes I had from the inventory, and made it so when you grab things from them, your money decreases. I also made it so that if you put something back into the shop, it'll sell it and give you your money back, kinda like Terraria. You can also right-click to buy multiples of an object if you want to buy quickly and not tap 1,000 times. Now our little goblin friend will never run out of, well, mushrooms and ratty old shirts, I guess. Moving on, I wanted to implement crafting while I was on a roll with these menus. Honestly, after doing the time HUD, then the inventory HUD, then the shop HUD, I wasn't really feeling up for a crafting HUD, but I powered through anyways with sheer determination. I liked the idea of settings, achievements, relationship info, and quests being kept in a little notebook menu where the player can click little sticky notes to jump to different sections. I decided to put the crafting menu in there too, and honestly, this was one of the most challenging parts of the game so far. If you only know 10 recipes, it's easy, just have them all load in on one page. But if you know 100 recipes, they start to leak off the page. Obviously, the solution here is to just add more pages. Simple enough. But then, when we have so many things, it's kinda chaotic. You'd have to scroll for pages and pages to find out how to craft something. I wanted them to be sorted by subcategory, like have a weapons section and a potions section or whatever. I made this complicated script that would automatically sort all the items, figure out how many pages are needed, create the pages, and automatically put everything in the right spot. I eventually got it working and made it so the recipes would show up if the player knows them. I then made it so they actually craft stuff, if you have the ingredients, when you click on them. The recipe will stop being dimmed out when you craft it, and it'll consume the ingredients from your inventory automatically. It doesn't make sense for a sword to be crafted using pants, but it's all just for the sake of getting the mechanics down. This is all great, but there's still one last issue. How do you know what ingredients something needs? It's like we're cooking without a cookbook. The player needs to know how to craft stuff. Even going back to the inventory, the player needs to be able to see how much damage a weapon deals, or how much a consumable will heal them. So I made this little tooltip menu that pops up whenever you hover over an inventory slot. The mouse is constantly watching to see if there's an inventory slot under it, and if there is, it steals some information from it, displaying it on the screen. And that, everyone, is where we're at. We've got big plans ahead, need to implement saving, quests, cutscenes, fog, NPC routes, settings, relationships, enemy spawning, pathfinding, and so much more. And that's all before we even start building up a world and filling it with fun characters and things to do. But we'll keep trudging through and making our way to the end. Sometimes I feel a bit discouraged, but breaking it up into bite-sized chunks really helps a lot, and I'm grateful to have everyone there supporting the process. One last thing before you click away, let me know in the comments down below if there are any features you'd love to see. I'm always open to new ideas or interesting new things. And of course, make sure to do all the liking, bell ringing, and subscribing to stay in the Isle Goblin loop. Thanks again!